I love the fact that Avon supports the Speak Out Against Domestic Violence, because there's a lot of companies that support a lot of different, very important causes, but domestic violence almost kind of gets lost in the shuffle. It falls in between the cracks. A lot of times people don't realize how many people it actually affects, or how often it occurs in life. When I was about 1.5 years, my mother met and married my stepfather, who happened to be in the military. He became an alcoholic. He became physically abusive to not just myself, but to my mother as well. And he also started sexually molesting me when I was 5 years old. It started off like late night arguments, which escalated into physical abuse. Unfortunately, instead of trying to get help earlier on, my mother, that is, she would brush it off as, oh, it's just an argument, he may have had too many drinks, he just got upset, he didn't mean to hit me. I always would try to be the protector, even though I was, a young child. If my mother was engaged in being abused, or if I thought it would be directed toward my sister, I would try to intervene so that she would not have to experience the same things that we had to experience. March 21st of 1997 will go down as the worst day in history for me. I need a minute. The day seemed normal. It was a beautiful day, and came home, went to my grandmother's house that evening with my youngest brother. And it's so funny because children, they say, have a way of knowing when things are not right. About an hour later, I got a phone call. My grandmother got a phone call from my mother's youngest sister, and she had said that my mother was dead. And I didn't believe it when I first heard it. I felt as if I had no legs, like someone had just knocked the wind out of me. And I remember falling to my knees, and I said, no, this is not real. But my grandmother is not one to cry. So when I saw my grandmother tear up, I said, no, this is real. My stepfather had come to the house that evening and had started an argument with my mother. They were in the midst of getting a divorce. He told her, that if I can't have you, no one can have you. They started arguing. They started physically fighting, but after so many years of abuse, my mother actually physically got the best of him. So in turn, what he did was he pulled a knife from out of his jacket pocket, and he stabbed my mother in front of the 2 children that was in the home at the time, and stepped over her and walked out. My mother, the cause of her death was she suffocated. He had pierced her lung, and she could not breathe. She couldn't catch her breath. He had stabbed her 16 times. What is so important to me is the fact that I was a child that experienced it, and not necessarily the direct victim. And the reason that it's so important is because a lot of times people see the children, but then they forget about the children. And then we become adults. And sometimes we don't know how to be expressive, because for so long we have bottled up inside of how we truly feel, of what we've really experienced. What has this really done to us? I do have a 9-year-old son who is the pride and joy of my life. My son is fully aware, and he understands that that's not how life is supposed to be. Life is supposed to be grandma cooking cookies, for Christmas and everything, and unfortunately he doesn't have that. He filled the void that I had lost for so many years after my mom's death. If I met someone on the street that saw my photo in regards to this campaign about domestic violence, and they were an individual who had a similar story, or may have known someone with a similar story, I would let them know that it's okay to be upset, it's okay to cry. There are other people that are experiencing what you have experienced or are going through. but don't stay in the situation. Get help. Love should never hurt. Love should never hurt. Love will have good times and bad times, ups and downs, but love should never hurt.
I say